Speaking of what is not free, is the rental market has absolutely exploded. It's seeing an insane surge along with the sale of homes. This is affecting both new leases and renewing leases with current tenants. U.S. rental occupancy last month was 96.9%. Pretty high, 96.9%. But the U.S. rental apartment units jumped 500K in Q2. It's the biggest annual increase in data going all the way back to 1993. The average rent growth this year is outpacing pre-pandemic levels in 98 of 100 nations of the nation's largest cities. The national median rent has increased by 11% in 2021. They say inflation is only 5%, but the national median rent has increased by 11% compared to only 3.3% for the first 6 months of 2017, 2018, and 2019. That's right. The average national median rent, the national median rent has increased by 11.4% compared to 3.3% in the 3 years prior to the pandemic. And renters in Miami, where it's always summer, are expected to spend 39% of their income on a typical local rental. This is expected to rise to 40% by the end of the year. And when the Best Business Show research team gets to work, we bring charts, we bring graphs, we bring data. So here are a couple of charts and tables, including Joe's favorite chart that we'll pull up in a second. High cost of renting. The cost for new leases skyrocket as apartment hunting gets competitive. This is crazy. I mean, it's literally off the chart compared to these other things, right? It's almost at 20%.
The only time it was negative was during the lockdowns.
And in the global financial crisis, right? So basically, it's always positive, and it just has this kind of cyclical nature to it. But right now, it looks like a chart that a startup shows a venture capitalist when they want to raise money, just right up and to the right. Do we think it comes back down at some point?
It's got to come down, but I don't think it goes negative. I'm not gonna lie. I recently rented an apartment, and every apartment I looked at,
you're not gonna lie,
was higher than the Zillow estimate for that apartment building. Every single one.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and they were acting, and they were like, "Oh, well, you better move on quick."
I mean, somebody just brought up a great point in the comments. How is rent up if you don't have to pay it? Right? Because there's no eviction moratorium. So how the hell is rent up? Well, it's because there's so many people that are moving, and because they understand that people are flush with cash, so they keep raising the price. John is explaining that, it's higher than the Zestimate, I think is what they call it, right? Zestimate.
Yeah, rent now, pay later.
Yeah. Well, listen. Hey, rent now, pay later. Joe Biden's got the eviction moratorium rocking and rolling.
Next month for the shelter you provide me today.
Yeah, no problem. All right, national rent growth is exceeding pre-pandemic levels. Duh. Right? The solid line is actually what happened with the rent. The dotted line is what it was supposed to be, according to the trend. Obviously, we are much, much higher. But even if you look as early as February, March, April, and into May, it was still below where the trend was supposed to be. Really, it just kind of jumped up in June, July, and into August. Remember, that's when we started to see 5+% CPI levels, is June, July. So it's crazy to see how high this is up. Rents are rising quickly everywhere. This is Joe's favorite chart or graphic, right, John?
This is his.
He loves
stand
these.
by this. This is his favorite chart.
He
on
loves
the internet.
these.
How
do you read this, Joe? Joe, read it to us. Depict it.
Can you tell us about the chart?
Decipher the hieroglyphic.
As everyone has already heard, I'm the only one that has not had anything to say about this chart yet because it is not my favorite chart. I saw it a week ago. I thought it was interesting. It was my contribution to the show.
Look at this.
It was my contribution as a topic for the show. It got pushed back a week because no one listens. And now it has made it on the show. What it is showing is rent growth across the top, I believe, 50 cities in the U.S.
100.
The top 100 largest U.S. cities, 2018 to present. As it gets darker red, that means they're becoming more expensive. It is essentially every single one of the top 100 cities have become drastically more expensive over the last year.
Why do you like this chart so much?
Look at it. It looks wild.
Yeah, that's what he told me when he sent it to me.
I was like, that looks wild. Look, it's all red to the right. All red. Every single city.
You like one of them crayon kids. Like if there's bright colors and stuff, your eyes get attracted to it. All right. So
that is
says
wild.
the guy with a yellow hat.
Yellow. It's orange.
Orange, whatever. Yeah.
What
yeah, see, I don't like colors. I don't know any of them.
All right.
It's a bold
All right.
statement.
I get the point where you're saying on the far right of the chart, it's all red. Very good. Very good. All right. Next thing is the affordable cities experiencing fastest pandemic era rent growth. This is crazy. So on the
You a bubble guy?
one axis, You have the rent change since March 2020. But to be clear, hold on. Don't be coming at me. I didn't pick this.
Guy now.
I didn't pick this chart. Who picked
You said
this
it looks
chart?
interesting.
I picked the chart.
Yeah, John.
What's your problem?
Johnny
Yeah.
Bubbles.
What's
Johnny
your problem?
Bubbles.
That's a good chart.
We
Yeah, it
said
is a good
1,000
chart.
likes.
Yeah, it is a good chart. All right, I appreciate the 1,000 likes. Thank you. Now we need 500 more. Get to work. All right, just kidding. We appreciate all of you. Rent change since March 2020. You got percentages on the left side and across the bottom of the median one-bedroom rent in March of 2020. San Francisco, this is fascinating. San Francisco has the highest median one-bedroom rent on the far right in the bottom, but it's also down more than 10%. So it's not only the most expensive, but it's also the one that people are dumping, trash place to rent, and they're moving to other places. So when you actually look at this, San Francisco remains the most expensive, but it's still down 10% since March. Or I'm sorry, it was the most expensive in March of 2020, but now it's down more than 10%. If you look at something like a New York City, that's the really big bubble right there, kind of just under $2,000. And then you can look all the way up and let's see what's in the top here. Fresno has had the highest rent change since March 2020. It's up almost 25%, approximately 25%. Massive increase. Miami up over 10%. San Diego right around 10%. Wichita, Kansas. I don't know what's going on in Wichita, but it's up 11, 12%. Even Detroit is up 7 or 8%. What do we think about? I mean, like, this is nuts to see. Wichita, Kansas is up 10%. Landlords in Wichita, Kansas are getting
Do
rich.
you think San Francisco is still down because of the tech companies there are have postponed people coming back into the office? So in turn, people are like, I don't need to live in San Francisco and pay high rent. And
Do you want the truth or do you want me to say what's politically correct?
truth only on the show?
I think that nobody wants to live in San Francisco because they literally don't know when they walk out their door if they're going to step in poop on the ground, if they're going to see someone shooting up with heroin, or they're going to get stabbed or shot. And then that all happens before they get to their car, which may or may not have been broken in. It's like a coin flip.
You used to live in San Francisco. You didn't like it?
I literally went back there a year ago. I think I told a story one time before. There was 2 incidents that I saw. One was I saw somebody stealing from CVS, and everyone was just standing there like, all right, man, yeah, go ahead, knock yourself out. Like, I was just like, what? Like, you guys aren't going to stop them? And there's a security guard, and the security guard wasn't doing anything. Not a police officer with like a gun, but the security guard was just standing there, just like watching. And I was like, all right, this is a wild place. And then the second thing I saw was I was at a conference at a hotel, and I walked through this like alleyway and to go to a Starbucks. And as I walked by, there was a guy who was like standing there, and he like knelt down, and he had a coffee cup. And he knelt down and he put the coffee cup on the floor. And when he did, I like kind of like button hooked around him, and I just turned and looked, and I was like, is this guy gonna like grab my leg or something? What the fuck is he doing? And so when I turned and looked, he had his iPhone, an iPhone that he had put on top of the coffee cup, and then he literally was pulling a needle out of his jacket pocket. And I was like, I literally don't know another place in the world where the guy who's pulling a needle out literally outside of Starbucks also has an iPhone. And I was just like, I'm out. Like, this is wild.
Yeah.
Get me back on the plane.
We went
again.
there. We were there for like 48 hours. We saw some wild
I'm not
stuff.
gonna lie.
You two
in the
went?
first,
Yeah, we
in
came
the
there
first
to visit
2
you.
hours, I saw 2 homeless people having.
Yeah. So we
Within the
saw.
first
Wait,
2
what
hours,
happened?
Yeah, no,
This
no,
is-
wait,
this
there's
is
two
back
stories.
in 2014,
Yeah,
2015,
yes, this
Yeah, I don't think it got any
yeah.
better.
Yeah.
No, so we were there. The first day we were
I'm
there.
talking about in 2019 is when my
We were like
experience-
in San Francisco for like 48 hours or whatever it was, 2 days essentially.
came to see
The
Big Dog.
weekend.
And,
For the
and,
weekend.
yeah, we were there for the weekend.
Yeah, have a little
and
fun.
Granted, most of that is spent like, inside restaurants doing whatever. We were out, but the first day we're walking through to lunch or wherever we were going, and some guy comes up to us in the street. He's clearly on drugs, like just obviously on drugs.
How do you know? Don't judge people.
He was clearly on drugs because he got up in my, like literally this close to my face and was like drawing like in the air. And I was like, all right, dude, just wasn't used to someone coming up and doing that in my face. And then when later that day, we parked to go to dinner, and we park we parked the car like parallel at a park. And literally we opened the door to the right, and there's 2 homeless people just having sex, literally right next to the door. Like literally right next to the door. John and I were like,
And then they
this
looked
place,
at us like, what are you looking at?
yeah, we were like, all right, let's just go to dinner.
Maybe don't have intercourse on the park sidewalk.
Yeah, it was wild.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching that clip of the Best Business Show. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you know when we go live every weekday, and then head to SoFi.com/pomp so that you can get an account and we can get after it.